Okay, so in the lab talks number 2, I'm joined by the brothers Grimm. Sorry, I mean brothers Crosland. That is SoulStructure. So we've got Dom on the left and John on the right. How are we doing, lads?
Hello.
I know we've caught up a little bit, obviously, while setting up, but how are we doing?
Well, I'm great. Yeah, all good.
John is great.
Yeah,
He's got yourself in the background. Are they your KRKs?
No, I was switched to Adam. Oh, sorry. Speaks to him.
Yeah. Because I remember you had... Go on.
So I've always only ever had one monitor.
Yeah, because...
Up until, like, 2 days ago. So Dom had these two. No, sorry, he had 2 KRKs.
Yeah. And
one broke. And he was getting some new ones anyway.
Okay.
I've now got the one of his that works. So I've now got 2. But it's not. I'm not even plugged it in. I've just like put it there. But yeah,
right.
I've got a pair of monitors for the first time ever.
Nice. So you can work in stereo, all that panning.
Life in stereo, yeah.
Wow. I mean, what even is stereo? I don't even know.
Just every once in a while you put an effect that goes left to right. Other than that, everything's just bang down the middle.
Maybe we can learn a few things.
Yeah, man.
Maybe.
Do some of that binaural stuff, or the 3D audio and that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that interested me when I did
times ahead.
It was, there was a period of time I did some audio to video stuff, and I kind of enjoyed that part, like thinking about things, where sounds were in certain spaces. While you were watching video, and it's like, oh, how would that sound like? It sound like it's coming from there and moving over there and stuff. Bit weird. So have you upgraded, Dom?
Yeah, I was on one monitor for ages.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you just had one sat there. You're just like, what's stereo?
It was quite good at time, but you realise when you listen to music from the 70s and stuff that everything is so pan.
Oh yeah.
Everything sounds totally different. So yeah, I got some Adam, which I'm still getting used to. But they are improving, I must say.
Was this like a lockdown treat?
I liked it. What?
It was like a lockdown treat because you just knew you were going to be in, so you were just like, well,
I needed some new ones.
Yeah, I like that.
I did need at this point. Yeah. But I always liked the KRKs. They get a lot of grief.
They do, man. I like mine.
Well, I always liked them, and they served me well for like 11 years. So.
Well, there you go then. Fair enough. All right. So we'll talk lockdown quickly, but because I've not properly caught up with you two anyway. So I had a bit of a catch up with you, John. So like, what have you been up to, man? Have you been like, have you actually been off like through it all, or have you continued to work?
No, I've been working. I've been working like crazy busy at times. So I've been working from home for I don't know, maybe 12 weeks.
Right. Okay.
Because it was actually a week before, the kind of lockdown situation. But I've not been playing football. So that's given me my Saturdays back. So I've actually had more, even though I've been busier with work, it's given me more time for music because I'm more free at the weekend. So
nice.
It's been good in that respect. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've been, it's been good to have been busy because, I certainly don't get bored. And actually I've made more of an effort to, go out running, walking. I've probably had more like fresh air, in the last sort of 12 weeks than what I usually would, because, even though I'll go to work and be in the office or whatever, the outside time is probably just going to the car to go to work. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm all good. It'll be just a bit weird sort of readjusting back to it all.
Yeah, I almost feel like how that's gonna be almost. I don't know. I mean, I've been in a fair amount, but I don't know. It's neither here nor there for me, really. You know what I mean? There's just less raves to go to, I guess. And less, just less gatherings, less beer festivals for us to go to.
Absolutely none to go. But it'll be good fun when they come back around.
Well, there were raves yesterday, weren't there? There were about 2 or 3 legal raves that happened yesterday.
Yeah, I heard about it. I've not seen anything. I've seen like people talking about it, but yeah, I've been all right. And you've been working, haven't you, all the way through?
Yeah, working as normal. Yeah, obviously it's from home. It's all right.
No change, just.
That's all right.
All right.
You've done. Would you say you've been doing more walking? I mean, when I say more walking, like more walking around Bolton. Have you been finding some new sites around Bolton? I feel like on Instagram I've seen you on Queen's Park a lot.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it all before. There's nothing new.
Yeah.
I've just seen it more regularly. Yeah, I get out and about when I can, but I've been sat here most of the time, either working or doing music and stuff. Which is kind of normal, really. Sadly, my life's not changed a great deal.
Same.
Anyway.
Same. The difference is I've got little Theo here now, but otherwise, yeah, pretty much the same.
Quite a lot of difference.
So you just touched on that then. So obviously you both had time to do a bit more music. So, you know, like how much you've been, what you've been on with, like how much stuff you've been doing. Any new like plugins? Any new tricks and techniques you've learned over this time off?
Go on, John. You can go.
Well, no, I was going to say I'll let Dom go first because you've completely upgraded your setup, haven't you? So
right.
You've done the most in terms of those kind of changes.
Mm-hmm.
I've not really, I've got this new monitor. I've not used it yet,
right?
And that's pretty much it. The rest's all kind of the same. But yeah, go on, Dom.
I've been doing loads. I've done loads of the dull stuff, to be honest. You know, like sort out my project templates and started just tidying up, like saving my channel strips for drum buses and stuff like that.
Honestly, man,
stuff.
that is it saves you so much time. Yeah. It's just
it gets those ideas going much quicker.
Yeah, if there's any one thing I suggest people, it's just save templates and like save your patches, save your little. Obviously, I'm on Ableton, so I've got like racks, but it's a thing that I've got into now where I'm just like building racks and just saving them, and it's just meant. Yeah. Just like right, boom, just chuck it in. It's just there. Put a couple of macros on, so I've got a couple of knobs to turn to get it where I want to, and then that's it. It's just like boom, onto the next thing.
Yeah, that stuff really saves you time. And yeah, just getting around to using some plugins that I didn't really thoroughly utilise before. Stuff like Filter Freak and Neutron and stuff. I used them, but I probably didn't go into the guts as much as I have been doing.
Yeah, you're just like, all right, that's cool. And then stick to what you know.
And just using like different compressors, you know. I only started recently using like optical compressors instead of just the standard VCA ones.
Oh right, okay.
Like, because usually it would just use the VCA compressor and it did the job, but you know, you experiment with new stuff, that sort of thing.
Yeah, he's messing around with new circuitry and stuff. But yeah, when I found out about that, I was like, all right, yeah, cool then. Yeah, it was quite interesting, you know. It made me think and care a lot more about compressors when I realised they had different behaviours at different times of life. Okay, so we'll go into, I guess, your origin stories. I guess your history. I feel like the best way to start maybe is to go into like the. I reckon the best way to start is probably to go into your individual kind of backgrounds and how you got into music first, and then we'll talk about, you know, like how things are together. So I mean, obviously you're brothers, so you probably influence each other anyway in that regard, but I guess we'll start with you, John, as you're the oldest. So
I knew that was coming. Yeah, I'm the old guy. Right, okay. Well, it's probably worthwhile pointing out that there's 4 brothers. Me and Dom are the middle 2.
Yeah.
So there's our older brother Ian and our youngest brother Ben. And I guess I mentioned that because Ian kind of got me into, you know, the kind of rave scene and mixtapes and that, you know, that whole thing in,
Right.
you know, the early 90s, 91, 92, you know, when I was like 11 or 12 years old. So you can work out my, well, you know my age, but I suppose everyone else can work out my age from
They
that.
can do the maths. Don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, yeah.
21 again
It's quite
today.
easy, actually. Yeah, again, yeah. I'd take 30 to be fair, let alone 21. So yeah, and then, you know, I think we, I love buying all the mixtapes and stuff like that, and then, you know, but my brother and his mate JB, who were really sort of, you know, really into it, they kind of moved on to buying vinyl, and they were like, yeah, that's what, you know, that's the thing, you know, that's where we need to get. And I was like a bit resistant, because I was like building up a nice little mixtape collection. I was like, no, I want to stick with that.
Yeah.
But you know, I kind of got into it and just buying vinyl. And then, you know, as soon as we could afford to buy some turntables, we were like mixing and stuff like that, you know, and picked it up pretty quickly. And I must admit, I never really love DJing. It was just kind of part of what you kind of did. And I tended to like listen to the tracks all the way through. And I just remember very early on wanting to make the tunes. I actually wasn't too bothered about the DJing side of it, and I kind of really started to get into how, you know, all the tracks were all sort of structured and things like that. So I always loved guys like Nucky and Tango, who were DJs, but they were primarily producers.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that. So yeah, and then, you know, from there, you know, that kind of progressed with the whole drum and bass thing, and got into the atmospheric kind of stuff, and you know, more so the atmospherics, and then went to university and wanted to, you know, I had a little bit of money to kind of get into production, but I suppose this is at a time where, you know, there wasn't the internet, and I didn't really know what to do. You know, I'd buy like these production magazines like Future Music and Sound on Sound, and it was all really sort of high level, complicated stuff, or it certainly seemed it at the time. But I kind of worked out a few bits and pieces, and you see some artists and you try and copy what they've got. I mean, it was expensive, you know, like you buy, you know, I've got synths here that, you know, I saved up for months to buy these things, and they were just one part of what you needed, you know, and then a sampler would be, you know, a few £100, and then that was before you even learn what to do with it. So I found it difficult to really, whilst it was fun, you know, I made a few sort of early bits and pieces, I didn't really have any sort of guidance. I was kind of just making it up as I went along. Yeah. And then I just left it alone. I mean, I still, you know, bought the records and enjoyed the music, but I kind of, you know, got my career kind of started then, I suppose. You know, by this point I was in my kind of mid-20s or whatever, and just left it alone. And that was, you know, pretty much it until, well, I suppose by this time, you know, Dom's 10 years younger than me. So by the time he was sort of 16, 17, well, I'll hand over to him, because that's, you know, then it kind of went from there, and he can tell you about his sort of route to that point.
Cool.
I was just trying to think about it when you were talking. I actually don't know what's happened up until this point.
What at all?
What just happened?
I was just thinking, I don't know I've got here.
You had beef for your tea, Dom. I know that much. I can tell you that much.
You had beef for your tea.
The rest you'll have to work out for yourself.
Right, I'll help you out a bit, right? I'll help you out a bit from my knowledge and understanding. Maybe you'll be able to fill in the earlier gaps.
Piece it together for me.
Right, okay. So I remember when I first heard about you started posting in the Northwest D&B forum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, and you were like, hi guys, I'm a drummer based in the UK from Bolton. Like, you know, but you were making good tunes, you know, and it was like, well, like, yeah, this guy's quite always make good tunes. So that was quite some years ago.
You know what, I remember, because like John was saying, he's starting getting equipment and stuff back in, bloody hell, must have been like the late 90s. couldn't tell you exactly when. But I always remember it knocking round like just stuff. I didn't really understand anything that was going on, but you know, I'd just wander into John's room and probably listen to something, and or I remember one drum machine you had. It was like I couldn't tell you what model it was. I couldn't really tell you.
That was actually the first bit of equipment that I bought, and it was a Boss DR 200 or something like that, and and it cost me about 300 quid, and it was rubbish. It was really rubbish.
I feel like I might have a sample pack of it knocking around somewhere. I'll find out in a bit to see how naff it was.
I mean, the samples were stronger because just the sound wasn't even that clear. I mean, maybe it was the mixer that we were using at the time, which, you know, hadn't cost me as much as what the drum machine had. But in my mind, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I'll get a drum machine and that'll be a great place to start. And it was this like little groove machine, and they had like double basses in there and stuff. And I was trying to make some bits and pieces like easy rollers, but they were probably so far away from that, just these two-step drums. And that's it, no percussion, no anything else. And then these double basses bubbling along. It was quite fun sort of learning how to use it. And I suppose, in a weird way, you do sort of pick up some little bits and pieces even when you don't sort of realise it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different workflow when you use hardware, isn't it? And that's like the one thing, whenever I've had to come away from software and I've used hardware for whatever reason. It was mostly at MIDI school, which might be something that helps you out as well, Dan. I know you studied there, but you know, it was when I was there and they got me using equipment there. I'd be like, oh, this is weird, you know, just playing, you know, like they had a Nord Rack 3, and you know, I'm just using like external MIDI to trigger the Nord Rack to get sounds out, and then I'm recording it and stuff, and it was just like, all right, okay. You know, and then I started to introduce that a bit more into my sampling. But anyway, slightly going off topic there. So
I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't just have this Boss drum machine. I mentioned it because he said it's like the first thing that I seen. But I bought some other things from there, like an Akai sampler, a Roland synth, had a Yamaha synth that I borrowed off my mate, and a few other bits and pieces. I was running it all through an Atari with Cubase, that I had up until not that long ago, to be fair. So, you know, I was kind of working things out to a certain point, but each time I was like, I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. You know, I probably could have mustered up more things, and I did make some tracks, but nothing that I was like, yeah, you know, this is it. But yeah, anyway. I mean, what I can tell you is, you know, Dom had got into music off his. I'm sort of telling his little story here, but you see,
I know.
Can't seem to remember it.
He doesn't know himself.
Oh, I thought you go on then.
All right, go on then.
I was just saying that drum machine, man, I wanted to jam on it so bad. Like I just wanted to bang on those drum triggers. But it's one of those things where it's like, no, you can't mess around with this. You don't know what you're doing. Yeah. So I think
it cost me a lot of money if I still touch it.
And honestly, I probably think that's why it's become so interesting to me, because that one time I couldn't use it. I was like, oh, gotta use that stuff. Because then the next time I started making music was on John's laptop, when it was a rubbish little laptop with Reason 3 on it or something like that.
Right.
And that was when I started again, and that's when I was like 16, just again like messing around with it. And that's probably when I started like making music really. Because I think probably when I first started playing with it, I think I was probably trying to make like hip hop or something, because it just seemed easier in the sense that it was like figure out what was going on to a degree. Whereas like even though I was starting to get into drum and bass music, it was more complex for someone who basically didn't know anything about music production at the time.
Yeah.
And then I think just advancement on that really, just learned bits and pieces along the way, and went to MIDI school.
Right.
Went to uni.
So what would you say was like your clearest memory of, like, I guess your first project then? Was that on John's laptop like you were saying before?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was I remember doing like this hip hop beat on it. Yeah. It was probably like rubbish, but I remember doing it. I was like, oh, this isn't actually too bad. And then I like just took it into college. I played to someone, and the only comment they had was it was quite dull. And so that was like, I remember that was the first project and feedback I have, and I guess that's setting me up for a lot of times you're sending projects out and people don't like them. So it's, I guess, an early introduction to the criticism of other people, I guess.
Wow, it happens, doesn't it? But at least they're honest.
It was right though. It was dull.
Yeah, exactly. At least they're honest. So, do you remember what door that was?
It was Reason. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you said Reason 3. Sorry, ignore me. Sorry, yeah, you did say Reason 3.
Which is actually going on to start on because it's sort of going on to start on because it's just all there. It's like it's just all, just all your stuff in the. It's like a tower, wasn't it? Like it's basically a virtual record, isn't it? It's weird because it is like a bit of a toy, isn't it, to like mess with at first, and it's a great transition for people who knew gear, which in that case, John, you did, didn't you? You knew equipment and how to plug it in and stuff, so it was like
and whilst I'm trying to think how I'd come across that. Using that Reason, I don't really remember, to be honest. But I lived in London for a couple of years. That was about 2005 to 2007ish, and I actually I don't know how I came across this guy, but it was this guy local to where I was living who was doing like tutorials on music production, and I'd only used like hardware stuff. So I was like, do you know what? I'll get in touch with this guy. And it was this Brazilian lad, but a similar sort of age. And he was really, really good. He showed me all kinds of different things. He was big on using Reason. But for some reason, it didn't... not Reason. I know, yeah. So I got Reason in my brain. Yeah. And he used Ableton Live. Oh, Ableton. And it was... it was like version 5 at the time. And, I kind of... That's what I worked with, with him when he was showing me stuff. But it just didn't, I don't know, I wasn't really feeling it for whatever reason. And that's when he spoke to me about Reason. I think I had this old laptop and gave that to Dom when I was back up north one time. And just started playing around with that. But in fairness, Dom was, he got into, with me living there, he got into it kind of off his own back, really. There might have been some, maybe hidden influences with just what he kind of heard me listening to and playing and things like that. But it wasn't until I kind of came back from London that he was kind of, into it off his own kind of back, really, and was into, different drum and bass that I was into. It was more sort of lively, a bit more techy, a bit more up-tempo, and I was into the same stuff that I'd always been into with the more atmospheric thing. So, he was like 17 or whatever, and we started going to Eastern Bloc and buying records, and we do that every Saturday morning, and that's probably where we started doing the stuff together. And they were really fun days, because there was a lot of vinyl being released. I mean, obviously there's vinyl released now, but it wasn't the digital era. You'd get digital tracks, but they'd just be like, some tracks on digital. But mainly the releases were still on vinyl, so that's what we did, and we bought a lot of records in that time.
You go to Eastern Bloc and go see Jim. Go, Jim, sort me out, mate.
Exactly, yeah.
Sort me out, pal.
Well, he worked
Shout out to Jim, by the way.
Time.
Here's what?
Yeah, he doesn't work Saturdays no more.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't see him. And then Dom, do you remember what happened after that point? Or is it still hazy?
And that's where it starts to become hazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one question I just had then was because you said, John, that you'd been to London for a while. You'd moved down there, and then you came back, and then Dom was kind of in, obviously into drum bass. So I guess there was an element of kind of like, because obviously, I don't know how close you were before that point, but I'm sure at that point it was a moment of like, oh, he's into the same stuff I am, like. Oh, great! Like, was there a bit of a brotherly bonding thing at that point? Like, like it just kind of, I don't know, do you feel like there was anything that made you closer at that point? Kind of coming back and realizing that Dom was into the same stuff.
Well, I used to, before I was listening like properly into drum and bass music, I had bits and pieces of it for a long time. Like, I remember you got me a couple of singles when I was like 10 or 11. I think one was a 4 Hero single and an Adam F single. So I always had bits and pieces here and there, but I suppose I was more into like hip hop when I was like sort of early teens. And John had a really good CD collection.
What kind of hip hop are we talking?
A bit of everything. Like, you did have a lot of stuff, and so I'd be like, I like this. Have you got anything similar? So I'm trying to think. I remember
mostly New York stuff.
Like, I specifically remember listening to the Nas stuff.
Ooh, good choice.
But like, and then just being like, given this and that, Notorious B.I.G. stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, for some reason, I remember listening to picking out God's Son by Nas, which isn't even one of his better albums, and just really liking it. So I think we probably sort of bonded over that music first. Before starting to get into more drum and bass music.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably how it works.
That's probably, that's certainly where we bonded more musically, but we've always been close, like, right from the off. It's the same with all of us, to be fair. So the music was just another aspect to it. Do you know what I mean? I'd put it this way: if we didn't have that musical thing, we wouldn't have had the joint experiences that we've had together, and that's been one of the best things about it all. But we'd still be as close. We'd just do other things. That'd just be, it was never. It was just a bonus more than anything. Yeah. So it certainly made us closer musically, but not necessarily just closer,
Yeah.
Overall, so.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just thought I'd dig into that a little bit. But no, that's fine. Okay, so then so this, at this point, you're saying that this is where the nucleus was formed and SoulStructure began. Yeah, and this is where...
no, I wouldn't say it really did at that point. We were sort of buying records together, but I was still so busy with work and stuff, and Dom was getting into it more and more. And Dom, you were doing a lot of DJing with Will, weren't you, at that point?
Shout out to Lawai.
Oh.
Yeah. Loads of them, yeah.
I mean, what really struck me is how good they both were at mixing. And they were proper demons, and they'd like mix for hours, it seemed, just doing these tunes, double drops and things like that. I wasn't, double drops weren't a thing.
Yeah.
When I was their age, it's like, wow, it's interesting stuff. But, he kind of found his own path with it. It probably wasn't until, I'm trying to think. I suppose you'll have been finishing college, and Dom was, looking at doing a music course. But these things aren't necessarily cheap. And I guess for me, looking back, I kind of thought, you know what? That's what, like I said before, I didn't really know what I was doing, but these courses at the MIDI school, that would have been, that's probably where I should have invested my money. I should have gone and got educated on what to do, and I think that would have helped me more than trying to do it off my own back, trying bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So
do you think
our mum and dad were good enough to support him through that financially with that course?
Right. Okay.
I remember saying at the time, this would be, you've got a real interest in this, and maybe there was an element of coming from almost my own perspective of is what I would have loved to have done, and I'll have said that at the time, but he really wanted it, and I can really see that he'd benefit from that, so and that's kind of where it went from then. That set him up recording his stuff, so he was doing his solo stuff and had releases before we did the SoulStructure thing.
Right. So just going back quickly on the fact that you're saying you wish you did a similar thing, like going into that education. Was there much around at that point?
The MIDI school was there.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, and it was pretty much the same. I'm sure obviously the content of the courses would have been different. Sort of 10 years before. But,
yeah.
It was there. I think it was all pretty new at that point.
Because SSR was the big place, wasn't it? Like, SSR was like where everyone was like, they're sponsored by Technics and Pioneer and whatever, it seemed like massive, So like MIDI schools seemed to just kind of hide underneath all that. But then, like you said, they've been around for a while.
I mean, without sort of really getting into this side of it too much, but thinking back, I looked into those courses. I had the brochures with the costings and things like that. But I suppose if I think about the context of the time, I was, I didn't really have at 16, 17, 18, I didn't have an income that I could, afford to pay for these courses myself. I think they're like $3,000 plus at the time, and our mum and dad would have been, cost-wise to them, there's no way they could have done it, because they have my older brother at university, me about to go to university, and our youngest paying for him at nursery. So it wasn't an option. I could have got a part-time job, but if truth be known, I had to really concentrate on my studies to get the grades to get into university. I don't think I could have done a job at the same time and actually got the grades, truth be known. So that's kind of the context of it looking back. And I would have loved to have done it. But I think, I never really had that upfront money to say, right, I'll pay for this course. If you could have done it, paid it in installments, maybe I would have looked at it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like you were saying, is that at that point you probably would have had to make an investment like that. It's not like, either that or you'd have to make an investment in a lot of books and magazines. And even then, like the setups then. So what you're saying, you was using an Atari with Cubase on it. And then whatever else equipment you probably would have needed. It's not like you can turn up now like you do and just like bang Ableton in, and then you're ready to go. Do you know what I mean? The setups were completely different then as well, so you're right.
Yeah, they were. I mean, in fairness, when I was using that Atari, that wasn't like, that wasn't cutting edge for the time. People would have been using, Macs and PCs for, 5 or 6 years probably, in home studios at that point, but they wouldn't have been cheap either, So
no, exactly.
I still would have been in that situation, having done the course, thinking, well, I know what I'm doing now, so, where am I going to get the money from? And truth be known, when I kind of got into my job and working, I always had it in my mind that I'd go back to the production. And, I always saved a little bit of money aside to be able to pay for the things that I would need in the future, which did help further down the line. And in fairness, a lot of the hardware that I bought back then, I've still got, and I use it, and it's great because, not loads of people use those things and have them use those sounds, so it's a bit of a point of difference in that way. And I don't think there's many of the tracks we've done that haven't got some sort of element of the hardware featured in there.
Nice. That's good then. All right, okay. So I slightly hijacked that for a second. Okay, so Dom's had his first release or so, excuse the pun.
Unavoidable.
Unavoidable, yeah. I don't think we did touch on that, but Dom's single artist name is Release, just in case we didn't touch on that. On that, actually, quickly, John, on the side note, have you got a single artist name, or like like a single producer alias?
No. No. I was going to say no, but I guess strictly speaking, I have, which is not overly inventive. I'll tell you the reason why I have is because the very first thing that me and Dom did together was Release, and I'd made it with him. So we just, most of my mates know me as, they call me all kinds of names, but know me as JC. So that it's actually, and no one really knows about this, but we had a track released by Release and JC.
I feel like I remember that.
A label called, what was it called, Dom?
It was Liquid Brilliance.
Liquid Brilliance, yeah. It was, I knew it was going to be one like Focus or something like that. I knew it was one of. Yeah, I remember that now. All right, so that was you. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense now. I never really thought about it, but yeah. Oh, cool. So yes, the JC. I mean, that's fine. The wrong JC.
I think at the time though, it was kind of a. I wanted to get into it, but it wasn't necessarily. Yeah, we'll do this. This is us now. Yeah. I just had some samples. And I was like, this could work. I was kind of freedom his way. And Don made a tune out of it, and you'd already had a couple of tracks signed with them.
Yeah, a couple. I think 2.
Cool. All right. So sorry. Yeah. So Dom's had some releases. Probably like that one up until obviously releasing JC. So then, at what point did you go? We are SoulStructure. Like what happened? How did this start? Then we got to the point where you started to make tunes. What happened?
Yeah. So I remember this really clearly. But if Dom does, then he can talk us through it.
Get involved, Dom. Let's go.
I don't remember. It's clear. It was probably. I mean, I moved home from Bath, so that probably.
Oh yeah, you were at uni, yeah.
From Bath.
Yeah, when I come back, yeah, exactly.
With 3 Fs.
No, you're gonna need to remind me,
man. So Dom had made a track that that Bookham was playing. So yeah, obviously I don't know this, but you must have sent it out to a few different people, including him. And then he, so hopefully you remember that conversation. But I just remember you telling me that he got in touch with you about this tune.
Yeah.
And this tune's never been signed, it's never been released, but he liked it and was playing it a lot. And if I remember rightly, he was interested in signing it, but there was very obvious vocal sample in there. So he was quite wary of doing anything with that. What was the name of the track, Dom?
Don't remember. I remember the track. I actually didn't know he was playing it. It was like later that we started sending him stuff again that he was like, "Oh, was that you? I used to play it all the time." I didn't know at the time. He sort of told me retrospectively. It was called Never Fell, because that was a vocal sample.
It's actually a decent little tune. I might have to dig it out at some point.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing that. I don't know if I have heard it.
Probably have got it somewhere.
I mean, it's one of those like Dom gives me like these random batches of tunes. He'll send me about 80 tunes, and then I'm like, and I never know like when I got them from. So I might have it somewhere. I don't know. But,
you might do.
Yeah, go on.
That must have been about 2011.
Yeah, 11, 12.
Yeah, maybe 12. Yeah.
Right.
And he and Bookham said, if you've got anything else that's like this, or just in that kind of style, then let me know. And Bookham was always the guy who I was the DJ that I followed, and with good looking records and things like that. So whereas Dom was like, oh yeah, it's quite like that tune, I was like, this is a big deal. I was so excited by this, and I was like, well, let's do so. If he's saying give me some tunes, I was like, let's make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I had stuff that I'd worked on, all these ideas that was, these things I'd worked on over this time. Some of them were just playing around, but some of them were like, okay, but they were just kind of grooves, and I didn't really know sort of where to take them. So we basically delved into one of those tunes in particular, and we finished it pretty quickly, and sent it to him, and he was like, yeah, that's great, I'll sign it. And that was pretty much it. That's the first tune that we sort of made, I'd say, as SoulStructure, because then he was like, so what is it, like, who, it's you two, so who's made it? I was like, well, so that's when we came up with the name.
Right. Okay. What was the inspiration for it? Did it come from anything, or were you just like, what's a cool name? What kind of matches the kind of tune we're making, or what?
Well, I think there's a lot of people around with soul something in the name, So that was always kind of a conscious of that, thinking, we don't just want it to be exactly the same, but I think it was a good representation of what that sound was going to be, because I was always really clear in my mind that if I was going to be involved in these tunes, they were probably going to sound a certain way, because I've always liked a certain thing, which was going to be something atmospheric and soulful and groovy and melodic, but was going to be break beats rolling and and structured. So that was really it. It was just a description of what was going to be made, which was structured soul.
Yeah, which is what I kind of got from it. I was just curious to know what it was, but yeah, like, you know, you kind of see the name and you kind of know what you're gonna get, and it's nail on the head, really. It is. So,
I mean, in fairness, at the time, I was so like hyped about just having this tune sign. So when he asked us for the name, it wasn't kind of like, yeah, and this name will last us forever, and we'll do all these things. It was just like, yeah, we'll call it that.
Yeah,
you know. And then once you've got a name, then it doesn't really make much sense to change the name, because a month later we made another tune and we sent it to him and he signed it. Then we made another tune and we sent it to him and he signed it. And I was like, this is great fun. So that was a really, you know, Dom had kind of gone through that with, you know, having his track signed, and, you know, had loads of support from, you know, various people with his solo stuff, but that was kind of the one for me, you know, signing them with Good Looking, when we've not really done anything else. You know, it was just like, you know, I was, fun times.
That's massive. So, all right, it's a kind of good thing to just slightly move on to. Well, I guess not move on, but just to kind of segue a little bit. So John was saying, obviously, like, it's a tune signed with Booking, like, good, you know, Good Looking. It's kind of like most people go, if they're into that kind of music and they get a tune signed by Booking, it's like, yeah, this is sick. So you've had quite a few releases on many different labels. What would you say is, like, you know, doesn't necessarily, I don't know, I guess you can interpret this how you want, either the best tune or the best label, or just like the best artist who just recognised it, or whatever. Like, what's kind of been your best hitting tune in that regard, where you felt like, yeah, you know, I'm doing some serious shit here?
What do you think, Dom?
And like I said, you can interpret this how you want. You could just interpret it as, well, I actually thought this was a good tune, but I didn't really care who liked it. I don't know, however you want, but
let me think. There's probably a couple. I think there was the first tune. Chris played one of my tunes. This is a long time ago, wasn't it? 9 years ago.
Shout out.
And it was, and it was when he was back on One Extra.
Yeah.
And it was very much like a liquidy tune, really, because that's what I started making. I'm not sure. I was into a bit of everything, to be honest, when I started. And I'd make a lot of different stuff, and that just seemed to come together a little bit easier. I think just because it had a good sample, this sort of, some of the other elements don't want to say they didn't matter as much, but they didn't have to be as good. You know, if you're making a techie tune, your drums and your bass, they have to be at least good, or you're going with something that's not so great. But because it had a really, like, a nice sample and stuff, that sort of carried it and made it a good track. And I think when he played that was like, I don't know, that was a really good moment for me. I remember it.
Playing One Extra as well.
Yeah, I remember seeing it on the playlist, because I sent him stuff for a while, and I was like, he'll play one at some point, and then eventually he did, and I was like, that was great, because I guess it was a lot of work up to that point, and a lot of, like, non-recognition, because the early years of making tunes, because at that point I probably making music seriously for about 2 years, maybe about 2 years. And that first year and a half, a lot of the time, I think for most new producers, there's some who be great at it straight away, but it's a massive learning curve, and you make a lot of crap, mate, you make a lot of rubbish afterwards as well.
Mate, I'm still doing that now. I don't know what you're talking about. I've been doing it for years.
Yeah, well, I think everyone does it from time to time. You'll start something and be like, this is absolute waste of time. But I don't know. I think when you achieve certain, like, goals like that, because I really wanted that. That was a big moment for me, and I think that was probably one that, like, really helped me kick on a little bit. I think one of the best tracks I made. Let me think. I really liked Pinhead on Horizons, simply because that was an idea that I had not actually at my computer. I think I was going through some of my break samples or something, and then went out for a bit And I was thinking, I sort of thought about one of them, and I was like, it'd be really good if you had this pattern to it. And so I started it, and then this tune came together really nicely.
Right.
So that was a good one, just because it's one of the few times I had an idea, not just messing around with stuff. It's like, I'm going to go and do that. And it sounded quite cool. And that was, I think that was my first vinyl release as well. So, so the two were quite nice.
Oh right, okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So probably those two probably off the top of my head.
Nice.
Any SoulStructure tracks? Do you like any of them?
Yeah, a lot of them. Not all. No, I like them all. Which ones do I like of those? I really liked making that one with track. Paul S. June track. I don't work with vocalists very often, so it was just different. And I don't know, just had a nice groove to it. I think whenever Paul gives you a project to work on, it's always got a good groove, and tracks have got a really good voice. So it's just a really nice tune to like start working on, because I'd sort of been given, about 30% of a project, 45% of a project, and it was already, you could already see where it was going. Already had a really nice sort of groove to it, and it was just a case of adding the SoulStructure bits there and doing a few things. That was a really nice one to work on. That was on our album. I do remember the first tune we made though. I do remember making it because it was like, it was just an atmospheric sort of roller.
Yeah.
And I think I had a sax sample knocking around that just sat on top really nicely, and it's always like the just the right motif for that track. I remember making that one. So yeah, the ones I tend to remember, the ones that come together quite quickly.
Yeah. Well, I feel that's the same for everyone, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's ones I've made that have taken a long time, but I just don't remember them as well.
Yeah.
I think just because it spans weeks or months.
So what is the dynamic in the studio like then? What's like, because I guess some people when they work together, like they can be as straightforward to be like, I'll do this thing because I'm good at this, and I'm good at this. I'll do this because I'm good at this. But obviously sometimes it's natural. Sometimes it can go really well when you do that. Sometimes not so much. I mean, obviously you two are brothers, so there's obviously you have the upper hand a little bit than you would do with two new people obviously getting together and collaborating. So how does that dynamic work?
I think it's probably changed through actually no, not necessarily changed. I think that it's developed through the years we've been doing it together. So I think we don't have too many blurred lines. It tends to be that I'll write the basis of a track and Dom will engineer it and polish it up and make it sound like a proper piece of music.
Right.
And so I'll more write and he'll more engineer and produce. It's never strictly like that. There's ones that Dom's written more so than what I have, and then I've built onto those bits. But Dom will always, he'll always finish it. He's so much more technical than me, and actually that side of it doesn't massively interest me. I am into more, you could call them the fun bits, really.
Yeah. I mean, you are the literal definition of an actual producer. That's what they do. Like, you do writer and producer. You're actually doing like the writing bit and going, it should sound like this, this, and this in the kind of direction. And then Dom's playing the engineer role. He goes around, does all the techie bits. That's how music's still written like that now, and it was obviously that's how it used to be. It used to be a guy's job, just turn up and go.
Well,
you put some cowbell in there.
Well, yeah. I think there's been some real benefits to splitting those things out, because I can focus on the bits that I really want to focus on, and we'll spend a long time getting them into a place that make it easier for Dom to work with, or give him something that will work with. But I know at times he'll want to get more involved in the writing stuff. But I guess it's only really been the album that we've been in the same place at the same time doing stuff together, which really helped with moving some things on quicker. But just with, you know, living in different places and, you know, the kind of just you know, time constraints. A lot of the time, you know, I'd send bits like what I would do if I was working with, you know, someone else, you know. So we could probably live in different countries, and it wouldn't necessarily change massively the way that we do stuff. But yeah, I think when I talk about how it's kind of developed, I think there was. So Dom will, you know, correct me if I'm sort of, you know, if he sees it kind of differently, but I think early on, well, you could say this is still the case, but I was so focused on what it needed to sound like. You know, I was going for, I didn't care if it was, you know, a club tune, if it was, you know, I just wanted it to be what I wanted to make. And with that would probably be quite challenging with how much would be in it, you know. So, you know, these big booming 808s with lots of layers of drums, with pads, with saxophone, with, you know, with Rhodes in there, it would, you know, it's full. You know, I'd be giving him stuff that was so full, and probably some of the early conversations were, and this is, you know, I think each of us learning was Dom saying it doesn't work, you know, right. It just doesn't, it's not going to work, or you know, something will have to give or whatever. And I was pretty much of the view of, well, try it, like do it, you know, rather than be like it doesn't work, because that's probably where I could be quite stubborn. It was like, that's it, that's the tune, that's what it goes like. So you know, you need to kind of work it out. So we probably did have a few moments that were a bit like, it seems a bit weird now because, you know, that's how you kind of learning, you know, because the first few tunes just came together so sort of quickly, and then it was like, okay, well, you know, just through giving him things to fix and challenges and being like, deal with that. You know, but I never had a problem with the fact that if it didn't work, you know, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Right. And actually, if we need to rethink it or the tune doesn't go anywhere, then it doesn't go anywhere. But if it does work, it'll be exactly what I want, and that is the challenge. You know, it needs those elements. That's what make it the tune it is. So I don't know what Dom's take on that is, but
no, that is true. I get some interesting projects. And there's sometimes a hell of a lot of stuff in there, like mixed down wise, it was difficult. But you know, I'm still learning. There's always things to learn. And some of those things that I said wouldn't work probably would now.
With the things that you know, like since then.
Yeah, exactly, because I've got better. But as much as John doesn't get involved with, if you want to call me an engineer, I don't know. I do a little bit more than that, but
yeah, of course.
Yeah, but primary that is, if you were to define what we do, I do sit in more of that sort of that area. But
there's definitely some. Sorry, just on that. There's definitely some of the tracks we've made that are like Dom's tracks, you know, more so than, not that it's really, I don't really sort of see it that way.
Yeah.
But the ones that he's written, you know, and I've always then, like I said before, you know, he'll write some and then I've thrown some bits in.
Yeah.
You know, but I think because it works that way because, you know, put it this way, if he wrote them, then they'd be his tunes because he's not going to give them to me to like engineer and finish, you know. So anything that he does, you know, I wouldn't be like, give that to me, you know, because it just, you know, it would become, that's why he's a solo artist and I'm not a solo artist. Yeah. So, you know, without, I suppose it's a funny way of putting it, but without me, there'd be no SoulStructure, because that's my sort of thing.
That's what you bring.
Dom was always, he was always into the liquid stuff. But if it wasn't for Dom, no one would hear those tunes. They'd just be going back sort of to, back in time to those projects that I was playing around with, sounds I was playing around with.
Yeah.
So, and that's why it's a good partnership, because there couldn't be one without the other.
Yeah.
They just, it just wouldn't exist in that way. But sorry, Dom, I interrupted you then.
No, that's right.
So, what I was saying was that over time, learning over time, things changing over time as well, like with how we work on projects. As much as John doesn't, like he says, doesn't do the final mix, doesn't do the engineering, as much as that is part of production, sometimes engineering is part of the creative process as well, as much as sampling and sequencing and everything. But he has got more. What I'm going to say here, but basically, the projects I'm getting now are a little bit tidier.
Right.
We started to kind of understand that side more.
Yeah.
Obviously, because we spent more time making music, and if there is times we are finishing tracks off. Sometimes it's good to have someone there for the final sort of sequence and stuff like that, and I will be doing mixing. So probably gain more understanding than probably realizes. Just by sort of being there.
And I mean, I was so much of a perfectionist like years ago. That's that was always a challenge. I know other people who have those challenges. That it's like, I just this isn't right. Just trying to be so perfect, and that was something that certainly. I mean, just even Dom getting tracks signed and having them released, it made it possible then. It wasn't like this barrier, and I was like, this is, this can be done.
Yeah.
And so that really opened my eyes to what was just, possible, and seeing how we'd done it and how we'd gone about it, and then so I learned loads just from that, and actually I gained, off his knowledge from what he was doing with the course that he'd done at the MIDI school. In fact, my first Mac, which I've got under my table here, a massive sort of beast of a thing.
Old school towers.
I bought that from a guy who worked at Manchester MIDI school, because that connection through Dom, and Dom was using Logic, and I started using Logic because Dom was using Logic. So I learned just so much. That guided me so much in that time. But I think we've definitely. Probably learned from each other, because there was things I'd give to Dom and he was like, I'm not sure that's going to work, and actually he found a way to make it work, which I'm sure helped him find that way that just how it could work. My battery's low.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm much more conscious now of what I do send, as in back, because I didn't know how to tidy things up.
Yeah.
It was almost like, well, you can do that. So I'd send some things that were, they just, it was just a dump of stuff that worked it worked as a composition.
Yeah.
But it needed so much balancing out. So they are more balanced now. There's things that I'm like, that could be a bit tricky further down the line. So I've definitely learned a lot of things from that. Yeah,
and I've found with stuff I've worked on as well, is that it is really good to distance yourself from certain things sometimes. Like you don't realise how much of a benefit you are kind of like luxury is not the word I want to say, but like the fact that you can kind of go, right, I've done this idea, Dom, have a look at it. It's like you're not too close to the mix, and that's what and I'm sure Dom will attest to that. Is like when you actually made a tune and you've like you spent all the time doing the tune, you spent all the time doing the mix. And I mean, I don't know how much you like kind of messed around with mastering as well, Dom, but when like you think, right, I'm going to do a little quick master as well for when I play it out and that, and it's just like there's just so many things where if someone just sent you the tune and said, master that, you go take that out, do that, like just cutthroat. But you won't do that with your own tune. You just be like, oh well, I spent 3 days doing that snare, I don't want to really turn it off or turn it down. You'll just find a way to keep it in there. Where that's what I'm saying, because you kind of got that idea, and you can kind of go, here's the idea. He can be very objective about it because he's not really precious. In a way, he's not going to be overly precious about it because he's not been. Do you know what I mean? At the beginning part, at least, anyway. Like when he first gets a project, he won't be as close to it, so he can be objective. So anything what might sound off or whatever, he could either deal with it or, like you said, just tell you straight up, like, I don't know what you're doing with this project, but this ain't gonna work, mate. You know what I mean? So.
I mean, when we did the album and we were in the same place at the same time, that was totally different. Because you've made some decisions together as to, and it is the ideal way of doing stuff. But sometimes it's just the practicalities of how things need to work with starting an idea, sending it across, and and Dom starts loads of things and sends them to me, so it can work both ways.
Yeah, sorry. When I was saying that, I wasn't necessarily just saying you directly. It's for anybody. Do you know what I mean? Like so. Even with Dom, like if he starts an idea and sends it to you, you can be like, I don't like that idea. Do you know what I mean? It's just that disconnect is really, really, really good to getting an idea done quicker. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? Actually, I'd say that a lot of the, we've done a lot of collaborations as well. A lot of the tracks that we've done have been with various different people, and you learn loads from those people as well. And I think it's always interesting when you send things to someone you're like, oh, this is cool. This is you're like, you've got a certain groove, and they'll switch it up in a way that you're like, isn't even necessarily every case like a complicated thing, but it's just like, oh, I wouldn't have thought to do that.
Yeah.
And what they've done is really, really cool. So it's a bit like learning tips and tricks from people, and and obviously we say same with Dom, that you kind of think, oh, I'll have to remember that for next time. So you're always learning.
Yeah Cool. All right. I'm getting a bit conscious of the time, but I don't know, like I feel it's been a good chat, but I don't know, maybe
my phone's conscious of the time.
Yeah, no, I know.
I've got 18%.
Oh, 18%. That's not too bad. But I think what I will do is I think I will look to wrap here. But maybe I don't know. Maybe we do another one. Maybe we can dive into this a bit more. So I mean, obviously this one's recorded. I'll probably do a few more. I've got a couple of ideas of guests I want on. And then I'm going to start to look to do these lives, because you asked that before. Is this live? Is this live? So,
I'm not sure I could handle live. I'll be sweating.
I mean, to be honest with you, it'll just be the same. It'll just be it'll be more of a chat, just a general discussion, and I'll probably get just random people. And do you know what I mean? It won't be like, what are you doing? What are you about? Type thing. But no, I think that's been really good. We've got obviously good insight about where you come from and what you do. I guess, what have we got coming next? Have you got any releases coming up, Dom? Any together a SoulStructure? What's the crack? What can people look out for?
We've got some SoulStructure stuff coming out, haven't we, John?
Yeah, we've got a remix of a track of a guy called Linear. It's called See You.
Okay.
It's on a Dutch label called Differential.
Sounds familiar.
It's out in out in a couple of weeks. So yeah, I mean that came about really quickly. We just got asked to do the remix, and like elements of the track, and I thought, yeah, we can take this in a different direction, which I think we've very much done.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that'll be out 2 or 3 weeks. And then we finished a collab with Nookie, the legend.
Nice.
So that's going to be released on Soul Deep on 10-inch vinyl.
Nice.
That'll be in a few months' time, because that's only just been agreed. But that'll be let's call it a double A side. So the other side will be a remix of a classic '94 track by the Invisible Man. It's called Skyliner, and we've done that with Tim Cant.
Okay.
So we trying to be really cautious of my pronunciation with Tim's surname. So yeah, we must have done that. I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, and Scott had signed that from way back and wanted a was like, yeah, it'll be a vinyl release. We just need another side. So we've taken a little while to get, what we think is the right track for that. So yeah, that's what we've got lined up. And then,
nice.
We will do another EP with Jazz Sticks. Hopefully not too far in the future. So that's from a SoulStructure perspective, and we're always working on stuff.
Yeah. I was just I couldn't think when I was thinking about releases of yours. It's just I feel like there has been a bit of a gap, and then obviously with lockdown and everything, there's like it's a bit of a weird time where there's almost a lot of music being made and released like at a ridiculous pace, to be fair, at one time, and then but it was like some people were really busy and just releasing music just like on Bandcamp, like, yeah, here's 4 tunes I made, boom, Bandcamp. And then obviously some people have been really quiet, so it's just felt like, from my perspective, I guess anyway, you guys have been a bit quiet. So as a duo anyway.
Yeah.
I know I've been talking to Dom and he's been sending bits over and stuff. Because we were reminiscing about DN Audio days, weren't we, and Violence recording days.
Yeah.
We're like, people need to make tunes like that.
Well, that's it. I think that's probably like, to me, that's sort of like is drum and bass to me in a way. Like as much as like it's all drum and bass, but I think if I was to say what is drum and bass, if I was to say play me a drum and bass track or what's drum and bass music, I'd probably play something by like Hive on Violence, or something by Break on
Whip Out a Break tune.
Yes, I do love that stuff.
Right. So I mean, is there anything coming from you in that regard, or is it still like, because obviously I know you sent me some bits a bit ago what you were like working on, but has there been some like older ones what have been kind of being ready and lined up to release, or is it just you kind of works in projects right now?
Well, I decided a little while ago now. This is interesting for you.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna start again.
This is the interesting bit.
Yeah.
This is the interesting bit. I've been saving it the last hour or so.
Go on.
I'm gonna start making music under a new alias.
What?
So because I feel like I've got a new direction.
Okay.
And just I had a bit of a break from making music for about a year. Not a full break. I didn't not do anything. I was still writing bits and pieces, but I wasn't as focused on it as I have been. And then when I've sort of come back to it, I thought, you know what? It's like a new beginning. So let's try something different and go with a new name and take it in this sort of direction I want to go.
Being reborn almost.
Yeah, that's it. So what I've been doing is just writing loads of music.
Yeah.
And eventually I'm just going to try and have quite a lot at one point, rather than sort of finish bits and send it out. I'm going to sort of get a bit of body of work together and then decide which bits I like and which bits probably just need to fall by the wayside.
Right.
And yeah, just a fresh start in a way. Sort of. I mean, I probably will work with some of the labels and artists I've worked with before. And it's not like a totally different sound. I'm not switching up loads and loads, but it's more like I'm sort of thinking more in line with that sort of violent sound, I suppose. Trying to achieve, because obviously they don't exist anymore. But the vibe is like
he's been remastering stuff.
Yeah, and I've been hoovering it up.
Yeah, I feel like if he heard the tune what was violence to him, he might consider it. Well,
if you started a label, that'd be great. But that's sort of I'm just sort of chasing that vibe, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's like we've been saying over this conversation. When I started making music under release, it was kind of like it was a testing ground. Like if you let's go from my back catalogue, there's all kinds. It's like it's all it doesn't fit one genre. And to be fair, that was the thing that I was going for. And when I started, I was like, I want to kind of span the genre of drum and bass music, because I had loads of influences of music. And I suppose that's just over time I've sort of narrowed that to what I really, really like. Influences I really enjoy, the other music I really enjoy, and trying to fit it in. I think now I've got that, I think that's what I'm going to sort of pursue, if you like.
So you heard it here first. So are we going to get a reveal? What's we got?
No,
we got a
I
name?
don't know yet. No, not yet. I've said it's the hardest part, so I was like, I'm sort of challenging myself to have to make that decision when I've finished like 6 good tunes. I'll be like, now I've got to think of a name.
Okay.
But it's so difficult. Like everything's taken.
You heard of Unglued. You heard of Unglued. Now you've got Undisclosed. This is what
there you go.
But no, I mean, I did a similar thing with Shoto, and to be honest with you, I'll be honest with you, at this point, I still don't know how I 100% feel about it. It was like good to kind of separate my identity, but it's like some people like see me now. It's like, all right, so are you still playing tunes? It's like, yeah. It's like, are you? It's like, yeah. You know, like the people just forget that forgot I exist. You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of what I wanted, but yeah, I wanted that separation, but then it's still a bit mad because like still people see me and still think, oh, you know, Iceman or ISO Red or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So, but here I am now. So yeah, okay. So new Alias tunes coming, SoulStructure new tunes coming. Anyone you want to shout out or whatever before we go?
No. Yeah. Go on, John.
All right, I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you. Shout out, Sonny. I didn't forget.
Oh yeah.
I saved him. Go on.
Yeah, we've got loads of people.
I know it's always tricky, isn't it? Because there's always someone you'd forget. I mean, look, you know, shout out to Paul SG and you know, all the Jazz Sticks crew, Scott Soul Deep, Elliot Madcap.
The Madcap.
You know, Bookham playing our tunes. Yeah, the Madcap.
Yeah.
You know, everyone that's involved with the SoulStructure and Friends nights that we do, from everyone that goes down there to people who work there and kind of make it happen, to everyone that comes along, Chris that DJs on the nights with us, you know, with his non-drum and bass thing, starting things off, really just sets the tempo right. And yeah, I suppose everyone that's kind of just, you know, follows our music. And even then I'll have forgotten some obvious people that I probably should have mentioned, but yeah, Simon, yeah, I was chatting with him the other day. I know he's been busy with his vocals, and Longman's been you know, it's been a while, but we've done a few you know, gigs out and about together, and it's always been great, you know, with the Manchester crew and Bolton crew connection, going to wherever we sort of go together. Yeah. We've had some really great times, you know. So, but we've never done a tune together, and that'd be interesting to do that.
Yeah.
Who else have I ever forgot, Dom?
You bastard.
Hey, I mean,
fill in the gaps.
Fernie, PFM.
Yeah, we're working on a PFM remix at the moment.
Right.
So, you know, I've always been a huge fan. So just to even kind of get involved with some of the sounds is amazing. You know, there's so many people that we've, you know, collaborated with, and you know, and we will do in the future. You know, Tim Cam, Deacon. Trying to think who else we had on the album. But yeah, look, you know, it's all love from us. We're looking forward to getting the nights going again, and you know, as I'm sure everyone else is.
Yeah. I think we're all the same. Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For joining me, and thank you very much for holding down Bolton drum and bass with me. You know what I mean? Representing.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right, guys.
Yeah, we'll always represent Bolton.
Always represent Bolton. Right. Well, thank you very much, guys. I'll put your socials up on the end of this video. Obviously, tell people where to get hold of you and what have you. If there's anything I missed, just send it to me later. Other than that, obviously,
Cool.
like the video, follow the channel, give us a heads up. Yeah. All right. Take it easy.